Hello, and welcome back to the Kings of CONCACAF podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and today we're going to be talking about what is wrong with the U.S. men's national team. Now, I could make this video 3 hours long. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. Obviously, there's not that much wrong with the U.S. men's national team. There's a couple select things wrong that I could talk about for a very long time. Now, the simple answer is Greg Berhalter. That is what's wrong with the U.S. men's national team, because he stems all the problems that we have. He's like the originator of all the problems we have. And that is basically, culture. It's, lack of accountability. It is, there's no grit or passion in this team for most of the time that they play. And that is a pretty big issue. There was this really good thread on that I saw on Twitter that was basically talking about how Greg Berhalter doesn't expect enough out of his players. His style of play is very passive. He doesn't, push for, aggressive counterattacks to catch the opposition off guard. So many of the attacks are very predictable because they hold the ball instead of, trying to build out quickly and move towards the, opposing goal. They try to build out slowly and conservatively. And I don't think that is the style of soccer that works anymore. It may have worked at one time, but right now, the style of soccer that works the best is, very, fast paced and, aggressive. You see how many systems play a 3 in the back because they want their wingbacks to push so far forward and just really be active on the counterattack. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that they should play with a 3-back with, wingbacks, I should say, with 3 center backs. I don't necessarily think that's a great option either. But my thinking is that they need to start to change up their tactics somehow. Greg Berhalter, it's not working. Now, that being said, I don't think he deserves to be fired necessarily because we are in such an important place in qualifying right now. After that Canada game, it was unacceptable. That Canada game was ugly, uninspired, just very average. It was a very average game. No one really impressed me. Seems like Christian Pulisic just got his talent taken from the Monstars. It's really strange what happened to him in these past 2 games. He's looked below average. So yeah, it's really concerning because Greg Berhalter can't really be replaced right now because it's too important of a time right now for them that they can't exactly get a new coach right now. That would just, I think, honestly make things worse. And also, if you win 3 times against Mexico in the span of 6 months, you're not going to get fired. And that's really the thing that makes me a little annoyed because he's going to be the manager in Qatar. And that is an issue because the manager in Qatar, when he's going to be the manager in Qatar, he's going to make stupid mistakes all the time. He's going to start Paul Arriola. He's going to start Kellyn Acosta. He's going to do these stupid things that he always does. And that is the real issue. Now, another thing I'm going to add is that Greg Berhalter has, these favorite players that he always brings in no matter what. Kellyn Acosta, Paul Arriola. Starting to seem like Zaras is back in that group. Roldan, Lletget. It's weird because, and just because they're MLS players does not mean that that's, a negative. I am including these players because they don't play very well when, they play. I will say Acosta has played well in a couple games. Lletget was playing really well at the beginning of the year, and he deserved a spot in the beginning of the year. But he doesn't deserve a spot anymore. Acosta is okay because we don't really have a solid backup number 6. So I'm okay with him being in the roster. But when he's put on in games that are really important and he makes mistakes, that's where I have the issue. So, with that being said, I don't really know what the solution is right now because there's not much that anyone can do. Greg Berhalter seems like he does what he does, and his system is his system, and he's not going to change it. And they're not going to hire a new coach until at least the end of Qatar. And I made this point on my Twitter that I believe, how should I say this? Greg Berhalter and the U.S. men's national team, I would never want them to play poorly. I would never want the men's national team to lose. But what I will say is that if they were to play poorly in Qatar, it wouldn't be the end of the world because that would most likely mean that Greg Berhalter is out. So, and that's really what I think is the only way we're going to truly succeed, because you see coaches every once in a while, what they're doing is not working and they change. Greg Berhalter has done that sometimes. If we saw his complete failure against Panama, and then the next game, Costa Rica, they played exceptionally well. So that's something that he was able to do to adjust. But I think he doesn't do that enough. He makes adjustments when he messes up a lot. He should be making adjustments game by game and week by week and window by window or whatever. He should be making adjustments specifically on the areas that need improvement. I can't think of anything specifically, but let's just say they had trouble with crosses in I can't exactly remember the game, but they were hitting every cross short. So now, if you're Greg Berhalter, what do you do in that situation? Crosses weren't working for that whole game. And do you go into the locker room and tell them, hey, it's not working, whatever? It seems like Greg basically encouraged them to keep crossing, and it wasn't working. It continued to go short. So there's small minor adjustments like that. Say Greg needs to bring them into the changing room, the locker room at half, and say, hey, crosses just simply aren't working. If you have the opportunity, sure, cross, but maybe try to look to change the point of attack. Look to find the striker's feet. Look to, switch fields and move around. Do combination play. Not only go to crosses. Or there needs to be more small and minor changes in the game for this to truly get to where we need to be. This team is so far from its needed potential, and it's angering, it's frustrating when everyone in the fan base knows that their performances do not even close to, encapsulate what they can be. So they need to get it together because they have still not played their best game yet. And I think everyone can agree. They've not even played close to their best game yet. But I think it's coming. I think they realize that now they're in a tough spot. They just lost a very big and important game. And now they're going to need to play on their A game for these last 4 games in qualifying. So with that being said, with all that I just mentioned, my one final point that needs to be said is we are missing Gio Reyna a lot. Gio Reyna has been out since September, and I believe that he might be the missing piece to kind of get everything together. Obviously, he hasn't played in 4 months now, 4 or 5 months, whatever it's been. And so he's not going to be quite as sharp when he comes back, I'm assuming. But by March, end of March, when the next qualifying cycle is, I think he'll be in top form. And I think we are going to get 9 points in that window. I think we'll sweep. I don't even think it'll be an issue. And that is being said that we play Mexico. He is such a creative player. He makes things happen on the field. He's a phenomenal player. So I think Gio Reyna is the key to our success, and we definitely are missing him right now. So yeah, that was my little 10-minute rant for the day. Thank you for hearing me. And as I'm sure many of you guys agree that our biggest issue right now is Greg Berhalter and his Berhalter ball tactics that simply are not working. He needs to make more small adjustments rather than making adjustments when he makes a big mistake. So when you guys are listening to this, we will be about a day and a half out of our game against Honduras on Wednesday night. So let's just hope we can get the result and we can be in a little bit of a better place, because we definitely need this win. We cannot take a draw. We cannot take a loss. We need a win so that we're a little bit more comfortable going into the final window. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I'm your host, Nate, and I will talk to you